All right, let's drop in. We're going deep on a true cult classic this time. Gleaming the Cube.
Yeah, this one's a bit of a time capsule, isn't it?
A big time. 1989, skateboard culture, a murder mystery. What's not to love?
Right, like on the surface, you've got this teen flick skateboarder kid, but then...
But then you get this whole conspiracy thing going on, shady dealings.
Exactly. It's way more than just some kids messing around on boards.
Which is interesting because the skating is front and center the whole time.
It's almost like his board is how he sees the world, you know, like how he interacts with everything.
So not just a hobby for Brian, then.
No way. Think about it. He uses it to chase people down, escape bad guys.
And to figure stuff out, gather clues.
Right. Like the filmmakers are saying, hey, this is how he thinks, how he solves problems.
Which makes it hit harder when you realize.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk. Christian Hosoi.
Oh, yeah. They did a lot of the choreography for the skating scenes.
Giving it this, like, realness you don't always see.
Exactly. If the skating was bad, the whole movie falls apart.
Totally. It's all about that authenticity, right? Even down to the title, Gleaming the Cube.
Ah, there you go. Now that's a skateboarding term, but...
But how does it fit with, like, the deeper stuff happening in the film?
Well, think about it. Gleaming the cube, tough trick, skill, balance, gotta be kind of fearless.
Just like Brian himself. Pushing through everything to get the truth.
Bingo! He's overcoming obstacles the whole movie, just like landing that trick.
So the title works on, like, 2 levels then.
At least. Skateboarding shout out, but also a metaphor for Brian's whole journey.
Man, that's way deeper than I ever realized.
And let's not forget, they changed the title. It was almost A Brother's Justice.
Really? Huh, I can see why they switched it up.
Gleaming the Cube. It's catchy, you know. Intriguing, tells you right away it's about skateboarding.
Plus, A Brother's Justice sounds, well, kind of generic.
Exactly. This way they're like, hey, this is different, man. This is skateboarding culture.
Smart move. Back then, skating was blowing up, but still had that, like...
rebellious streak, yeah. Outsider vibe.
And the film totally embraces that.
Oh, absolutely. It's celebrating a world that most movies weren't paying attention to.
Which probably explains why it resonated so much.
Right. It was like, finally, a movie that gets us, gets what we're about.
Speaking of getting it, gotta talk about Christian Slater. Perfect 80s teen angst, right?
He was, but he was also really into skateboarding himself.
Yeah, didn't he actually do a bunch of his own stunts?
He did, and some of those were pretty intense.
It shows real dedication, going beyond just playing the part.
And it comes through in his performance, for sure. Raw energy, vulnerable, but determined.
You totally believe he'd risk it all to find out what happened to his brother.
100%. And that intensity, it really ramps up when he starts digging deeper into the conspiracy.
Because he's not just facing, like, small-time troublemakers.
Oh, no. These are serious players, powerful people who want to keep things buried, and they're not afraid to play dirty either.
Yeah, things get pretty intense for Brian. I mean, good thing he's got those skating skills, right?
Oh, for sure. Helps him get out of some tight spots. But it's more than just action, though.
You're right. It's like those bad guys. They show us how high the stakes really are.
Exactly. This isn't some game. This is about justice, standing up for what's right.
Even when it's dangerous. Which, I gotta say, the film could have easily gone full revenge mode.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It's more thoughtful than that. About what justice really means.
Yeah, holding people accountable even when it feels like the system's against you.
And Brian, he's not some superhero, you know, just a kid thrown into this crazy situation.
Makes you root for him even harder. Using his brains, his guts, and yeah, his skateboarding to make things right.
Right. Every win feels like he earned it. Makes his struggles feel real, too.
That's what I love about this film. It's got the teen thriller stuff, but with this skateboarding heart beating underneath.
Totally. Familiar, but fresh at the same time. And you can't forget about the soundtrack.
Oh, man. Pure 80s gold. It's like the perfect mixtape for, like, a late-night skate session.
Every song just fits the mood, you know, all that energy, that rebellious spirit.
But it goes deeper than that, right? Like, the music tells us about the characters, too.
Yeah. You hear it in those punk anthems when Brian's on the run, but then
there's those mellower tracks when he's dealing with the loss of his brother, all that heavy stuff.
It's like the music is another character in the movie, adding this whole other layer to everything.
Like, they knew, the filmmakers, that music was key to capturing that whole youth culture thing.
Totally. That feeling of, like, breaking free, finding your own path, all that.
It makes me wonder, though, what does this film have to say to us now, you know?
That's a good question. It came out over 30 years ago, but people still love it. Why?
Because it's about more than just skateboarding, right? It's about belonging, standing up for what's right.
Facing your fears, figuring out who you are in the world. Those are things everyone deals with, no matter when you grew up.
Exactly. We might not all be skaters, but we all want to feel like we fit in and make a difference.
And the film says, even when things are tough, you can still gleam the cube, overcome those challenges, achieve your dreams.
It's a message of hope,
Yeah.
that never gets old. Plus, it's got all that 80s coolness.
And it's just fun to watch. The action, the mystery, Slater's performance, it leaves you feeling good.
And maybe wanting to grab your old board, too.
Haha, maybe. But there's something else, too.
Oh. Like what?
Well, think about it. It wasn't a huge hit when it came out, but it found its audience.
Those who connected with the whole skateboarding thing, the vibe of it all.
Right, like the film was speaking directly to them and they felt seen, understood.
People looking for something different, something that reflected their lives, their passions.
And maybe that's why it's still so beloved today. It became a cult classic,
Keeps getting discovered by new generations, drawn to that energy, that authenticity.
Makes you wonder, though, could a film like this be made today?
I mean, things have changed, right?
Okay.
Skateboarding is mainstream now, not so rebellious anymore.
Yeah, and how we watch stuff is totally different. Streaming, online.
So you're thinking maybe that lightning in a bottle moment is gone.
Yeah.
That it was tied to that specific time.
It's tough to say, for sure. Like you said, things are different now. But those core themes, the wanting to belong, fighting for what's right, being yourself, that stuff never goes out of style.
So maybe it's less about copying Gleaming the Cube exactly, and more about capturing that spirit,
Totally. Finding a story that connects with how young people feel today, what they care about.
Yeah, like finding that point where a good story meets what's happening in the world.
Exactly. And the filmmaker, they got to have that vision, that passion to make it real.
Because when it works, it's more than just a movie, right? It's like
Yeah.
holding up a mirror to everyone.
Showing us who we are, what matters to us, what we're struggling with. That's what the best films do.
They make you think, make you feel things, and you don't forget them. Gleaming the Cube, for all its, 80s-ness. It does that.
It really does. People underestimate it, but it's got a lot to say.
Right. We could probably talk about it for another hour and still have stuff to uncover.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the great thing about film. You can watch it again and again and see something new each time.
Well, I know I'm going to be watching Gleaming the Cube with fresh eyes now. And who knows, maybe I'll even dig out my old skateboard.
Hey, why not? And remember, you gotta gleam the cube.
Best advice ever. Thanks for joining me for this deep dive. It's been awesome. And to everyone listening, until next time, keep exploring, keep those wheels turning, and remember, you gotta gleam the cube.